Hello. Whenever you do I guess it's a blog or whatever, uh, then I notice that a lot of the videos people put out that they like to, it's customary to give a shout out to some of your subscribers or whatever it might be. So um, I don't. I'm not just talking about videos, but just a lot of the writings and videos I put out. I thought I would give a bit of a shout out to a guy that always likes my videos, and I don't know if he if he gets exactly where I'm going with things, but I believe he's from Africa and maybe Ghana. I'm not sure, but the guy's name is I believe his name is Kuma Richard. Isn't that right, wifey? So anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to somebody who seemed to enjoy it. Just because he's kind of like a supporter, I guess you might say. He's always supporting me, um, always liking my stuff. So anyway, I just thought I'd give a shout out. Um, so uh, I I put these videos out. I feel led to put these videos out. I don't know if anybody's watching. I don't know if I had deleted them at times in the past, others that I had put out, and I kind of decided against that, deleting them because maybe someday, if not now, then someday, maybe they'll do somebody some good. I feel led to say these things, even if maybe nobody's listening. Very well, I wouldn't say nobody, but maybe if very few people are listening, I still feel led to say these things. So, what can you do? I just do what I feel led to do, and if nobody ever listens, well, I still felt led to do it. So I don't know what to do. But anyway, if I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. That's I don't really, in a way, I'm not really concerned about it. But if anybody listens or not, but I mean, it's just nice to have fellowship sometimes around some of the ideas that you have. And so, anyway, speaking of ideas, I just wanted to say that I had gotten a little bit of an idea. I was listening, and I'll try to get into it. I was listening to Tori Alianza had put out a thing last week. It was, "Is God Real?" And so anyway, my summation of it after listening to it was, what I concluded was that the basic idea of it is that God is humanity. Okay, that was the basic idea, the basic concept. So I'm not saying that was not the idea that was given to me, because I was pretty well already aware of that idea. But I will say this: Aquarians, I have noticed, have been in my life good. All the ones I've ever dealt with, they've been good at giving me ideas that they will, even if it's they're talking about something that ain't even that somehow they spring ideas in my mind, just been around them, and then usually I'll take off and go run with it. And but they're good. It's kind of like they'll be talking about something, you'd be like, what? Sometimes you don't even know what they're talking about, but somehow they spring an idea in your mind. So anyhow, that kind of sprung an idea in my mind, and like I said, not the idea of God being humanity, but because I don't know, it's kind of been out for a while now. I think maybe it wasn't put in quite those clear terms, but that's kind of been out for a while. So anyway, but nonetheless, listening to that kind of sprung an idea. And so anyway, I just wanted to say this: if you think about it, and I'll do my best to go through this as fast as possible, but if you think about it, then wouldn't a person find it a little ironic that the very things that each astrology sign, this is going to be mostly astrology. I'm talking mostly astrology today. And I'd like to say this. Another thing is this. I remember whenever I used to have to preach all those war messages, and the idea was that William Branham said that the spirits that went out of those realms of the all the dictators and whatnot of the natural in the war days went into the church. Okay, well, I think that, I mentioned this a while back, I think that there's a real possibility that those spirits there, at least in some part, if not in all part, have went into perhaps astrology. I think that astrology seems to be pretty big on how we explain things now. So I just wonder, I really think personally that the spirits that went from the dictators to the ecclesiastical to the church perhaps are now into astrology. But it's all kind of interrelated, obviously. So, but anyway, but figure this. I just find it a little bit funny, speaking of astrology, I just find it a little bit funny that the way that God is perceived in every age tends to be based on how that the traits of the people of that age, or the people that have the, for lack of a better word, sun sign of that age, just for an example. And the reason I say it is because Aquarians are humanitarians. Well, does anybody find it mildly ironic that in the age of Aquarius, God is now humanity? I mean, does anybody find that ironic? Does anybody find that to be a coincidence that God, it just happens to be humanity in the age that is based on people who are humanitarian? Coincidence? Okay. Then try this. I got to looking at all the other 3 ages that we have to compare to, because we can't really go back beyond Taurus very easily. But before Aquarius, we had Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. Okay, so I got to thinking about how did each one of those ages view God? What was their lens of what God is? And in Pisces, I use Pisces first. In Pisces, and you all can probably relate to this and add on to it and probably think of people in your lives that this relates to that are of these particular signs. But in Pisces, the lens at which you viewed God essentially was through this lens of he was here and he's gone, but he said he'd be back, and he come back at the end of the age. Okay, so the whole age of Pisces was everybody essentially looking for the Father, for lack of better words. So, as I would like to put it, daddy issues. Pisces, the age of Pisces was based on daddy issues, because everybody was looking for, it was this mystic version, this mystic dad that they were wishing would show up pretty much all the time. Okay, this kind of doty, mystic version of God, which was the father dad. Okay, and he's gone, but he's coming back, and everybody's like, is he coming? Everybody's just staring out the window, waiting for him to come back. And he eventually does kind of show up back at the end. He was there all the time, but he showed up at the end, So anyway, but nonetheless, what I'm saying is that it's a daddy issue. And in my life, I have noticed I have had several Piscean friends. I have been surrounded by Piscean friends, really. And because I don't know if it's where, I guess Capricorn and Pisces, like they're very complementary of each other. But anyway, but I have noticed that typically daddy issues followed Piscean people naturally. Everyone that I ever dealt with seemed to have some sort of daddy issue going on. whether they didn't know who their daddy was, or they didn't their daddy was gone, or whatever, and or they had to be a dad whenever somebody else couldn't be a dad, or whatever it was, something, they had to take the place of a dad. And that kind of fits too, because it was like that they were taking a place of the father's absence, in a sense. The father really wasn't gone, but they didn't know he wasn't gone. So they were taking a place, they were kind of taking a place of being a father. So that's what I have noticed with Pisces. It's like their dad's gone, he's coming back, or it's daddy issues. It's they got to be the father in place of somebody else. Somebody else couldn't be the father, couldn't be the dad, so they had to take the role of being a dad. I've seen it several times. Okay, so it just stands to reason. Does anybody find it a coincidence that if Pisces tend to have these issues in their lives, that the lens at which the Piscean age viewed God was through a lens of daddy issues? See, it's no coincidence. Okay, let's run it on down the line. I got two more left. Aries. Aries viewed God as the warrior, kind of like the warrior god. Well, Aries is the god of war. Okay, well, it makes sense. Okay, he was the warrior deliverer, basically, God. Redeemer, deliverer, type of God. Okay, so that was how that was their lens. And then I got to thinking about Taurus. That Aries is easy. I'll move on from that one. Then I got to thinking about Taurus, and the Tauruses that I've known in my life are typically concerned about, or I wouldn't say, well, they live long. They seem to tend to live long and have long, full lives. The ones I have known, they have very long, full lives. And they're always concerned about living long. They're always concerned about, taking care of their body and living long. Okay, well, if you think about it, the age of Taurus, and their Tauruses, they seem to be concerned about living long, and they seem to be concerned about bearing the burdens for everybody else. These are the people that'll go out whenever there's snow on your car and scrape your windows off and try to help you. They're like, they bear the burdens. And that's just the way they are, or they'll help you do something. And so anyway, so they're always helpful. I've tended to notice. So it seems like it just doesn't put them out to help you, on occasion. Some situations, let's say, but nonetheless. If you think about it, so what was the lens at which Taurus viewed God? Taurus viewed God through this lens. How was that age? The age of Taurus was where everybody was living to be 900 years old. Okay, so I figure that means is it's no coincidence that Taurus people tend to want to be concerned about living to be old, because in their age of how they viewed God, it correlated. They were the sacrificial ox, essentially. They lived to be old, and that was the age of Taurus. So a Taurus person lives to be old, and they're just a sacrificial, well, I don't want to say just, but they're, well, kind of, they're like a sacrificial ox of life. Okay, and that's how, see, what's going on here in every age is that the lens at which, every 2,000-year cycle, the lens at which you view God is changing. Okay, so God essentially has never been the same. I mean, now I know that's going to be provoking in that, well, I thought Jesus Christ was the same yesterday, today, and forever. Well, that is true, and I'm going to get to that. But I want to explain how it works. It is the same, but it's viewed through different lenses. Okay, so, and then I wanted to talk about, let's see, where could I go from there? I'm going to do my best to put this together, because I hope I can do half of it justice. Then what you have is if you run all down the line, all around the wheel of astrology, then you would have, before, like I said, we can't go back hardly before Taurus because we don't have any written record. I mean, there might be some way to discern it through what we have, and probably a lot of the written record we have now relates to those ages, before even, like the days of creation, whatever. But if you went on back, you'd go like Gemini, Cancer, Leo, etc., etc., and all the way back around the wheel. Okay, then each one of those would have viewed God according to their own lens. All right. However, so you have a relative view of God. You don't have an absolute view of God like that. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Okay, so anyway, that's why we have had, when we're coming out of Pisces and going into Aquarius, we have had, this is the age in which we switch from one relative view to another relative view of God. Okay, so, but neither one is an absolute view of God. The Aquarian age, the Aquarian version of that, that's why that I don't go so much along with God being humanity, because I realize it's just a relative view of what, I mean, it's the relative view that we have now of God, but at the end of the day, it's still just a relative view. Okay, so I'm kind of feel like I'm outside of that, and the reason why is, and I'll explain to you the reason why. Because see, I know this is going to be, this might be a little too much, but this might annoy some people. But there are other things going on out here that are not Aquarius right now. Okay, we're in other ages right now that's not Aquarius. Okay, everybody says we're in the age of Aquarius. That is true. Okay, we're just moving out of Pisces, just going into Aquarius. But we're in Aquarius, but we're right there on that cusp and going into in Aquarius. Okay, so that's all true. But that's the age that we're in. But there's more to it than that. Okay, there are more things at play and at work here that are constantly going on that are not relative to the ages. They're not relative. There is an absolute. What you have is you have a relative view of a relative lens at which you look through to view God, and you do have some things out here that are absolutes and don't change. Okay, it's both. Okay, so and I'm going to try to start explaining that here. I would just say this. I am not what I'm doing here, what my position as a speaker here is not the position of, I'm a different part to this thing than the Aquarius part of the wheel that we're on here. Okay, I am doing some. I am kind of separated from that. We're all connected, and that's what that's kind of what I run on. That's the base. That's the base footing of what I run on, because this is the age of which we're there. I'll get to this. I'll explain all this, but that's not who I am. And there are other people out here that's not who they are either. Okay, and the reason is that, see, there are certain people out here that don't really fit anywhere. They don't fit in Aquarius. They fit in Aquarius, let's say, just as much as they fit in anything else. Okay, even though we're in Aquarius technically, they fit just anywhere. You know, these are your people that probably are like your people that kind of go from church to church, and they don't really care where they're at. You know, they could wander into an Arturial Yonda church, or they could wander into a Third Coming church or whatever, and they just don't care. They could go down to the Message church or go to the Pentecostals or something. They just don't care. Okay, they can fit anywhere. Okay, there's a reason for that. All right, these people. Let me get to drawing it out here so y'all can get what I'm saying. That's all scriptural, I guess you could say. I don't want to, you know. I mean, I gotta act my age, right? So I gotta act a little Aquarian here and be like, you know, you take scriptural with a grain of salt. Anyway, I don't want, if I start to sound too old fashioned, and nobody will listen to me. But so anyhow, this all goes back. See, Doriel Yonza put out something a while back, another thing that I noticed, and I had already been thinking on it. It was some sort of drawing, and it had a triangle. It had like all the tribes of Israel camped out around the tabernacle in the wilderness, as I recall. And it's because what happened was there was a tabernacle in the wilderness, the tent, and it housed the Ark of the Covenant. The cherubims. Okay, so here's your Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and here's the tabernacle. Okay, so the what he put out was something like a circle, and it showed all the tribes. See, all the tribes were camped out around this. That's how it worked in the wilderness. And what happened was, but there was a triangle that was kind of like didn't really fit anywhere. It wasn't around the circle, and I know a lot of people know this, and that was Levi, the tribe of Levi. Okay, so Levi. So Levi in astrology is represented by Libra, and Levi refers to the Levitical priesthood of astrology, essentially, of the Israelites in the wilderness, and et cetera, on down through. So Libra didn't have a place. They didn't have a dwelling place. They never had a home. The idea was that the Levites were the priesthood, and they stayed in and took care of the temple and took care of the priestly duties. Okay, so Levi didn't have a home. Okay, Levi's job was to bear essentially the sins. Okay, we've got to aquariatize everything here, so nobody turns me off. The sins, the sins of the thing. Okay, so anyway, so hang with me here, folks. I've got something good to say. Just hang with me. Please don't turn me off. Okay, I got something good to say. All right. So anyway, here. Try this. Okay, this is the compass, obviously. So, how this thing works is that I propose that just like in that drawing that had Levi and Libra in the middle, and didn't have it camped out around the outside of the tabernacle, I propose that actually in astrology that Libra and Levi, or just Libra, is the priesthood essentially of astrology, is not on, it might be on the wheel too, but it's really the hub. It's the hub of the wheel. Like, imagine a motorcycle wheel, okay? Here's the hub. Okay, this is where the bearing operates. I'm trying to get too technical, but the bearing this is your bearing in the middle, and then it's got X amount of spokes, one out here. Okay, so imagine this is your astrological wheel, and see, here we are down here. This is like Pisces, Aquarius, Aries, Taurus. Okay, you get the point. Okay, so see, this is about where we're at, because see, we've already rolled through these. Okay, the wheel, the position of the wheel is on the ground here. Okay, so it's like Pisces is finishing up and Aquarius is starting. That's where we're at in this position of the wheel on the ground. So the whole thing, the area of which that we're set on the ground is Aquarius. So that's like a fixation point. Okay, you've got 3 fixation points here. Okay, you have got, but one fixation point is kind of like, is always changing. And what that is that your relative view on what God is. It's always changing. Okay, like I said, we had Pisces lens, which we viewed things from, and then now we've got Aquarius, humanity. Okay, so how that works is that whenever Aquarius begins to hit the ground, when the wheel rolls around, then we begin to view things in that way, because that's the point at which we are now attached to the ground. So that's the point that it's fixated on now. But that always changes. It changes every 2,000 years. Okay. But I propose, and I'm not saying Libra isn't up here too, around the rim, but I propose that Libra is actually the hub of the wheel of the thing. Because the reason is because in the temple, Libra was in the temple, okay? And everything else revolved around the temple. Everything else was outside the temple, okay? Now, if you take a Libra person, then what happens with the Libra person is that they are always trying to balance everything and make everything spin properly, or make the world work properly, make everybody work together, make all the spokes of the wheel and the whole thing work together. So what happens is Libra bears the burden, or the sins. I'd say the sins, but it's just really a burden. It's because it's kind of a burden. If you've got to make everything balance out, then it's a fixed point to where it's kind of like a burden. So anyway, Levi, the priesthood, bore the burdens of all of Israel. Okay, Libra bears the burdens of all the zodiac. Okay, and what happens is if you take a Libra, and if you got a Libra person out here, the way that you infuriate a Libra person is if you don't give them a little maintenance, if you don't appreciate what they're trying to do, then they will get a rough spot on them, and they will start getting hot, and then they will blow up. Okay. How it works is, on a wheel, the bearing here, see, Libra is the bearing. The bearing, what it does is it's got a bunch of little tiny spinners in it, and if you keep that bearing greased up, then you can run the thing if you keep proper maintenance and keep that bearing greased up, you can run the thing for forever. A bearing will last dang near forever if you keep it properly maintained. Okay, and that's the way that it is with Libra people out here. Because Libra people are bearing, when a Libra walks into a room, they're trying to balance out everything. Okay, and how you upset a Libra is that if things become unbalanced. So it's the same thing with a bearing. If it hasn't been greased properly and it starts to get rough somewhere, then it's improperly balanced, and then it starts getting hot, and then before you know it, the thing blows up. You ever had a bearing blow up on a car or something like that? Well, you're done. Okay, it's bad if you ever have a bearing go on a car. So anyway, they start getting hot and they start smoking, and then you're done. You can't go nowhere. The whole wheel come off. Okay, so that's what I'm saying about with Libras out here. You got to understand that if you got to give them some maintenance, you got to give them some, I don't know if it's love or just appreciation or whatever it is, but you got to appreciate their balancing act that they're doing for all the rest of us. And if you do that, then they will reward you with good service, and the wheel will spin properly. Okay, but if you don't do that, then it will burn up, And if you've ever been around a Libra, that whenever things become unbalanced, you realize that they will burn up on you and blow up. And when they blow up, the whole rest of us blows up with it. The whole wheel goes with it. Okay? So, and I'll tell you something else too. Libras, see, the Levitical priesthood, that was where you paid your tithes to. Okay? So, if you... what it meant was that whenever they were paying tithes to the Levitical priesthood in the Old Testament, what they were doing was they were essentially greasing the Libra hub. They were greasing those Levites, and with their tithes, they were putting some grease in there, and that was making the thing continue to spin properly. But if they didn't tithe, the thing didn't work right, and then the temple went to crap, and then the whole wheel fell off. Okay, so anyway, that's why that they paid tithes. And I'm going to tell y'all something about Libras. And my wife's going to be able to attest to this, that Libras have to have certain things given to them that, whereas things that would perhaps not be, that would be okay for everybody else, a Libra is a special case. You have to give a Libra something special in order to make the thing work. Nobody else might say anything, but Libras they like kind of like expensive stuff and special stuff, right, wifey? You know what I mean. So, and what you're doing there is you're paying your tithes to the Levitical priesthood, because it's all in astrology now. The priesthood's still here. It's Libra people, okay? If you're paying tithes out here and you don't even know it. You've got to pay tithes to the Levitical priesthood, because everything will go to crap if you don't. Okay, and it's all in astrology now. And so anyway, I hope you all get my point. Another thing about a Libra person is that a Libra person cannot make up their mind. If they have, it's like if they're going to get a refrigerator or something, or I don't know, whatever it might be, or maybe a motorcycle or something, or whatever, or a house or whatever it might be, anything. A Libra can never make up their mind. They're very indecisive. They don't know what color they want. They don't know what kind they want. They can never make up their mind. Okay. And the reason is because they're just this circle. They're not really, it's a hub, and it doesn't have an orientation. It rolls around, it's like the classic funny story of a Libra is you ask them what they want to do, then they look at you and say, whatever you want to do, that's how it works. So, they don't have, there's nowhere they want to go. They want to go where you want to go. See, you got to appreciate that. You got to appreciate that they are willing to do whatever you want to do. Okay. So, I hope you all catch my drift. They are a universal hub that bears the burdens of everything around it. It bears what we want to do is what they want to do. Okay, so and I don't mean to. This is not old fashioned. This is just what's going on here. What's going on now. So anyway, like I said, all this has moved into astrology. So we've still got the Levitical priesthood. It's Libra people out here. It's Libra thinking. What I was saying earlier is that there are people out here in this message that are not Aquarius. You've got the vast swath of people are probably going to be Aquarius, essentially. But that's not the only part of this thing that's a fixed point. Okay, there's the Levites. There's got to be the Levites out here, the Libra Levites. And these are people that, like I said, they can go anywhere. They can go anywhere and do anything. Okay, that, like I said, they can roll into any church and be just as happy at one place or the other. So anyway, or whatever it might be, that would probably be a sign. That's what I'm thinking, is that's a sign of the Levitical priesthood. And when those people roll in, that's probably your Levitical priesthood type of people there, because they can go anywhere and bear any burden. They can bear any burden of what's been said here, what's been said here. Nothing offends them. It doesn't offend them. If things get out of balance, it would offend them. But having to bear the burden of all the circle around them doesn't offend them. Okay, so I assume that's your Levitical priesthood. We got Levitical priests out here right now. The Levitical priests are all around out here, believe it or not. The Levitical priests are the people that are kind of in between, that are going in between your churches right now. And that's the priesthood, because you are essentially a tribe. You are essentially a tribe out here in one direction or another. But if you have, kind of like a fixed idea, kind of like I would say it's relatively fixed, let's say. It's in the position that it's in here. So the Levites, they're running around out here and you don't even know it. These Levitical, if anybody thinks that the Levitical priesthood is over, I promise you it's not. It's still alive and well out here, and it's running around in between your churches. You don't even know it. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, what I'm saying is that these Levites out here, they're kind of like interdimensional of the signs. They're like inner sign dimensional, I guess I could say, because each sign's a dimension. Okay, well these people are, these Levitical priesthood they have been here forever. They're always here, and how would I say it? What I mean is not so much that, but what I mean is that they are a people that are not Aquarius. Okay, you got all your Aquarian people and your Piscean people out here and everything else, but these guys they're outside of that, and they're not Aquarian. They're Libra. They're Levites. Okay, they just roam in between all the rest of it. They just roam in between your churches, and you don't even know it. And they're not Aquarians. They're Levites. They are Libra. Okay, these people are not Aquarians. The message for their day, the message for this day, is the same as it's unchanging for them, because they don't care. This bearing here don't give much of a care what the wheel out here, where its position is at, because it just stays right here in a fixed position. Now this changes fairly relatively dramatically, but this don't change. It's a fixed position. So what I'm saying is, you get what I'm saying, Wifey? Mm-hmm. So the Libras are a different position here that are only relatively connected to what's going on here. So that means that these people, you've got Libras out here that are different from the Aquarian people. See, I think it's kind of like a misconception. I'm not saying anybody would disagree with me after hearing this, but it's a misconception because we just consider that everybody is Aquarians. Everybody's not Aquarians out here. Okay, I have known this for a long time. Everybody is not of the Aquarian message. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't even think we're in the Aquarian. They're like Piscean and whatnot, and still going backwards on the wheel. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the people out here. Let me compare it to this. The people out here that recognize that they are into the age of Aquarius. Let's bring it up to today. Okay, everybody in that message seems to think that if you're not in Aquarius, or it seems to be a misconception that if you're not in Aquarius, then you're not in the message for your day. But the Libra Levites here, they ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay, it's a whole different ball game here for them. They ain't even interested in that so much. They don't care about the relative position of the wheel here. Okay, you all think it, and we are in Aquarius, and there's got to be that position of people out here that are mating to the ground like the tire mates to the ground, because that's the position that the wheel is in, the astrological wheel is in. But that only runs on Libra, and these people are disconnected, essentially connected but disconnected from that. Okay, so all the rest of the motorbike here is on the ground at the point of Aquarius. So we're all connected in a sense, but still these people are not Aquarius. Libra is not Aquarius. These people are different. Okay, it's a different setup. These people, like I said, they're roaming around here in between your churches. You don't even know it, and they're not Aquarians. They're Libra. Okay, these are the people that you pay your tithes to. Okay, now you're paying your tithes astrologically, and you don't even know it because by talking to them or whatever you're doing or appreciating them or whatever it is, you're paying your tithes. It's like the Melchizedek priesthood. It's what was it? Without beginning of days or ending of life or blah 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 blah. Well, that's them. Okay, that's them. They have no beginning of days. See, Aquarius has a beginning of a day here. Pisces has a beginning of a day here, and an end and a beginning. It's 2,000-year cycle. These dudes, this thing can run around 1,000,000 times, and they'll still be right there. Okay, we good, wifey? Okay. So anyhow, so I always knew that I didn't think like everybody else out here, and I began to figure out why. Because everybody was thinking in terms of Aquarius, and I never thought that way. And at first, I kind of thought like these people. But that's not it. I don't even think like them. I'm getting ready to explain to you the rest of it. Okay, there's more fixed positions here in terms of things. Even I'm paying my tithes to Libra, let's say. I don't think I'm a Levite, but I know there's a lot of people out here that I come in contact with all the time that are Levites. I'm sure of it because they're universal. They can go anywhere, do anything. Okay. Universal, as in revolving universal, the hub. Okay. And all the rest of it is too. But anyway, you all get my point. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. So now I want to talk about a few other things. And then I want to get to my position on things. Let me say this first. I thought this was funny. If you have a wheel here, let's make this wheel a little better. Okay. If you have a wheel, let's say this is a motorcycle wheel. I'm going to run this whole thing as if it's a motorcycle. If you have a wheel here, then inside the wheel you have an inner tube. Okay, that's what keeps the wheel pumped up. And then you've got the tire on the outside. The tire just... blah, blah. And then, you got knobbies. Maybe you're in the mountains or something in the mud. I just like riding dirt bikes, so mine's going to be knobbies. All right, anyhow. I never really liked street bikes. I always like riding in the mud. Okay, so that's be an earth sign thing, mud. So anyhow, this inner tube here, see, this would be let's see what Cancer, Leo, Virgo, blah blah blah. That might be enough to make my point. Okay, so anyway, you see how this, so what I assume here is this. And this might be debatable, but I thought it was funny. This is an inner tube. The inner tube is made up of all the signs. Okay? All the signs make up the life of... What's the life of the tire? The life of the tire is the inner tube and the air therein. Okay? So that makes up the life of the tire, which is, what I guess you could say Christ or something. Okay. So anyway, I got to thinking about it. I was like, an inner tube, what are the things that you find on an inner tube? Let me do a few more just to make... Sage. Scorp. Lieb. Okay. I think it's all of them. So, what are the things that you find on an inner tube? The things that you find on an inner tube is this. You've got to have somewhere to put air in it. Okay, so you've got a valve stem. Runs into the inner tube. Okay, and then, other things that you might find on an inner tube is you've got, when the inner tube's put together, it's probably vulcanized together. And, in the factory, and it's got, I assume that the part where it's melted together to make the full inner tube, I kind of picture that as a Leo. That's kind of like the fire. The fire where it's melted together at. Okay, then I kind of think of the... where you put the air in is in between Aries and Pisces, because this is kind of like the point where it sticks out. that was in between Aries and Pisces was Jesus. Okay, so that would be where you feel, that's where you stick the air compressor on and you fill the inner tube with life. Essentially, was Jesus. Okay, all right. So just thinking. So and then I kind of think of Aquarius like the tire patch, because this is the area where we seem to have hit a hole. We hit, or not hit a hole, but we caused a hole. We ran over a nail, we ran over a nail and it punctured the tire. Okay. So anyway, Aquarius is weird because it doesn't fit with any of the rest of anything. It's always, it's like 2 generations in the future, and just every imaginable thing that does not, you try to talk to a person who is either an Aquarian naturally or an Aquarian as far as spiritually out here, and you can't talk to them about anything and try to make any relative point, because they don't believe in it, because there's something, it's a different thing. Okay, so how it works is that the nail punctured the tire there, and then we got rid of the nail, we pulled the nail out, and then we put a patch on it. Okay, so there's a hole there, but it's been patched by a external or an external rubber piece that has glue and has different things. So the what it means is that Aquarius is a different animal. It doesn't relate to the rest of it relates, but it doesn't relate, because it's not inner tube, it's a tire patch, but it's part of the thing that makes the weird part of the tire. You got kind of like different weird parts of the tires. Like I said, Leo is probably where it melts together. Then a Pisces and Aries, in between there was Jesus, and that's where you put the air in. Okay, and then maybe this is even debatable, but I kind of thought this is the way I thought of it, and or maybe even vice versa. I don't know, but anyway, nonetheless, I kind of thought that Aquarius was the tire patch, and it didn't really fit with the rest of the thing exactly. So that's why whenever I talk to people, and they're natural people out here, my friends that are Aquarians, they're not going to be able to relate to things that I'm saying. And then whenever I speak to people that are in the Aquarian mindset out here, they're not really going to be able to get what I'm saying, or I wouldn't say they wouldn't be able to get it, but they're not going to be able to relate to it, because I'm talking in terms of the whole inner tube, and they're talking in terms of a patched piece on the inner tube that's not really technically inner tube, but it's all together. Okay. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. But now I would like to explain to you what my position is here. Okay. Because I don't think like anybody else. I don't think like the Aquarians, because I don't think in terms of this, something that is, I do a little bit, obviously, because we all do. Every Libra out here has got to think somewhat in terms of Aquarius, because that's where we're at. Okay, that's the part of the wheel that's touching the ground, you see. So we all got to think that way. But we hit it from different ways. And, your majority of people out here that know that we're in the age of Aquarius, they think of it just seem kind of like primarily from this position, naturally. And then Libra is thinking of it from this position. It's universal, but they also recognize that we're on the ground at Aquarius, but it's universal. Okay, so they don't really have a position, but they kind of do, but they really don't. Okay, then there's my position. Okay, and I wanted to talk about 2 other signs. There are 3 signs, essentially. Let me just say this. This will all rotate and change every 2,000 years. So I don't too much consider, me personally, the way I'm oriented here and what I am, I don't really too much concern myself with the 2,000 year cycle that we're in, because I realize that will change. But there are a few things, but the thing that I'm made up of will never change. It will never be, it can change. It changes in a way, but it doesn't. Because, see, Libra's rolling around spinning. So, in a way, it's changing. but it's not really changing. I mean, it's spinning, but it ain't moving. Okay, it ain't moving from its position, but it's spinning. Okay, so Libra is always in one spot spinning. Okay, now the other two signs here, and I got to get over into my compass to explain this. Imagine it this way: there's Aquarius and Pisces into Aquarius, and Aquarius people. That's all the people out here that think that way. That's all the, like, your love divine people, and think that way. Okay, depending on how far you move it over, and then moving back this way, you got like your second coming people, blah 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 blah. You get what I'm saying? That's how they all think. Okay, and then the Aquarius people, they think this way. Okay, that's where you're moving on to now, and then that's one thing. That's one possibility. And you got possibility number two, as I've said, which is Libra, which is the hub in the middle, because they were in the middle of the tabernacle. They weren't outside the tabernacle. They were in the middle because everybody else was camped out around it. So Libra is the hub. Okay, I firmly believe. Now, the next part of the wheel assembly, I'm talking about a whole wheel assembly here, because this will not work. If you don't put all this together, this won't work. Okay, so imagine it like this. This compass here, the compass is the same thing. Okay, let me do it like this. Okay, a compass, how a compass works is that you can turn the whole compass. Okay, so it's more like this. You can turn the whole compass, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a master on a compass or anything, but anyway, what happens is it orientates differently based on which way you're walking. But how a compass works is that the Earth is supposedly made of iron. So what happens is the Earth is a giant magnet. Okay, so there is a position in up in northern Canada, what's called magnetic north. Or I guess it's not geographic north, but magnetic north. Okay, and what happens is when you have a compass, what a compass is it's a spinning position. This position, all it does is just spin. That's like your Libra. Okay, and then its magnets attract and repel. So what happens is if you have let me do it this way. Every magnet has a north pole and a south pole. So if you put two magnets together, and if you put two souths together, then they will push apart. Okay. Now, if you put two magnets together, and if you put one is north and one is south, and then the other one is north and this is south. See, these are two south here, and they push apart. Okay. But if you put a south and a north together, then they push together. See, that's why opposites attract. That's how it works. In magnetism, opposites attract. North pole and south pole pull together. So to make a magnet, what you do is, because the magnetic north is always pulling, okay, you take a magnet, a south pole magnet. As far as I understand, this is how it works. You take a south pole magnet and you stick it on this Libra middle center wheel. And what it does is it always, since if it's, imagine it like this, if north is up here and you stick a south pole magnet on, and then you give it a little thing up here to tell you where you're at, then what happens is it always, well, sorry, I'm doing the best I can here. Let me show you this. If you've got a magnet here, let me get rid of this. You all got the point on that. If you've got a magnet here, and see, this is north up here, and this is south up here, then what happens is if you allow it to spin, you put it on a Libra spinner, and you stick a magnet on it, then what happens is that if you put a south pole magnet right here, imagine you had a south pole magnet, then it pushes away. It pushes away here. Because if it's a south to south, then it pushes away. And what happens, it spins right up here away from this. And you know by doing that this is north. Okay, the magnet, you put a little pointer on there, and you put a south pole to south pole, and it points away. So what happens here is that you know that this is always pointing to north because it's a south pole magnet. Because if it's a south pole magnet, then it repels from south and always points north. Okay, that's how you orientate things. Okay, so the other two signs I wanted to talk about in this equation, because there's signs that are always in a fixed position. And the other two signs I want to talk about, we good, wifey? The other two signs I want to talk about are coincidentally my wife's signs, which are Capricorn and Cancer. Okay, so how this works is, see, there's a thing here called degradation and in compasses. And what you have to do is you have to set your degradation. And what it is that magnetic north apparently is like up in northern Canada right now, but it's constantly moving by degrees. So like 200 years ago, the degradation, you would have to, if you had a compass from 200 years ago, you would have to reset the degradation of the angle at which it's moved to now. So magnetic north is kind of set on an angle. It's not just straight up and down, essentially. It's set on a degradation angle. Okay, so let me tell you how this works here. What I'm talking about here is wheel alignment. Okay, if you are running a motorcycle, then what you have to do is your wheel has to be aligned properly for you to be able to go down the road. So what I'm talking about here is we've got a motorcycle that is made up of all this stuff I'm talking about, all of us out here, and we're all affected by every other part. So to make the thing run properly, your wheel has to be aligned properly. Your hub has to be greased, and your wheel has to be aligned properly. We've got the wheel, we got the inner tube, we got the tire, we got the hub, we got all this so far. Okay, but this won't do you any good just by itself. What you have to do is you have to take this and you have to mount this to something. You have to mount this to, here, imagine this is your motorcycle. Okay, what you have to do is you have to mount. This might not be the best example, but bear with me as I say. You have to mount this here, okay? And it's wheel alignment. See, the funny thing about all this is me and my wife, see, we don't, growing up, I didn't have enough money to fix stuff right. Okay, and I learned how to fix stuff the wrong way, let's say. Because, see, growing up, I didn't have enough money to take my car in for a wheel alignment. So, at the shop. So what I learned to do was I learned to align my wheels the best I could and just get them close enough and just go on. Okay, now they would wear out a little prematurely, but it didn't really matter because, it's no big deal. So I can align a car without having the technical tools to do it and save money because I didn't have the money to go take it to a garage and pay $100 to get it done. So anyway, I learned from that process. And me and the wife a while back, I had an Oldsmobile car. We had to get out there with strings and kind of like match up the string on the back wheel to the front wheel to adjust the alignment of the car, of the wheels of the car. Because if it's out of alignment too bad, you can't drive it. Okay, if it's out just a little bit and you're poor as Job's turkey, then you can line it up halfway decent and go on like we did. But anyway, so anyway, it's about wheel alignment, okay? And what's going on here is the wheel alignment is adjusted by how the wheel is. This is a motorcycle. I'm going to do a motorcycle here, not a car. I could do a car, but how it works here is that how the wheel, if this wheel is not aligned properly with the motorcycle frame, then it won't work right. Okay, if the wheel is aligned in a car, it would be like this. It would be like, runs up to a shock. Okay, that might be a better example, but nonetheless, if the wheel if the wheel, I'm going to use a motorcycle here for the first example. This wheel has got to be lined up properly with this or it won't work. I don't care about your Aquarius on the ground. I don't care about your Libra up here that's bearing all the load. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about your hub. I don't care about this. If this ain't lined up right here, then none of this is going to work right. Okay, but there on the same hand, I'm not saying that these things are lesser so either, because the hub, if you don't, like I said, if you don't grease the Libra hub, then burn up and you ain't going nowhere either. Okay, it don't matter how well this is lined up. If your tire's flat, then if you can't line up Aquarius on the ground down here, then if you don't have the tire plug or the tire patch kit of Aquarius on here, then the tire's going to be flat. You can't go anywhere that way either. Okay, so all these things are working properly together. But how this works is, you got a shock here, and the shock has got probably a spring in it, or either it's gas loaded or whatever. So anyway, this function, I know you all know what I'm talking about. I know you all broke stuff, but I'm just going to tell it. So this comes up here and connects to your handlebars. Okay. Okay, so yeah, you should have seen how much I was laughing last night when all this came to me. So anyway, this is how you steer it. Okay, this is how it's aligned and how you steer it. Okay, so this shock right here goes in and out. Okay, so what happens here is, like I said, in this compass, what happens here is that this here is north and south. Okay, so this right here is Libra here. This is your north and south. So you got to figure out, you got to get your angle just right. And what happens is north and south, see your shock and your angle, the movement backwards and forwards in the shock that's Cancer and Capricorn, but going back and forth. Okay, it's whenever you see, you got to have a shock too, because whenever you run on rough ground, then you got to have a shock to damper the shock that you get in the seat, or else you'd drive yourself crazy trying to ride the thing. So Capricorn and Cancer are connected. There's an angle at which, see, Capricorn and Cancer are on this thing that goes up and down. Okay, this shock, and there's an orientation point in a car where it's at is right up here. This is where it mounts to the car frame. This shock that would be going to the same thing. Okay, there's a point right here which you adjust these bolts, and it adjusts how the angle, your alignment of the wheel. So what happens is the wheel, and like I said, there's degradation. So you got to adjust this based on, you got to kind of like adjust it this way or fore or aft in a circular form, because see, a wheel in a car, even in a motorcycle, obviously you've got this thing, it goes at an angle. The thing the forks of the front wheel goes at an angle. But in a car it actually goes at an angle too. It's just you don't know it. Because see, what happens here is the wheel is actually set in a car. There's a set that sets the wheel kind of forward or backwards in the circular motion. So anyway, that is your alignment, okay, or one form of it. So the point here is this point here, north, okay. So Capricorn and Cancer come together to make this shaft, essentially. Cancer is kind of like the shaft, and Capricorn is like the fixation point, the alignment point. Okay, so what happens here is this shaft runs to this fixation point on a motorcycle. Let's use a motorcycle. Forget the car. The motorcycle has got this fixation point, and this fixation point determines in your fork as to where your wheel sets forward out or back straight like this. Okay, and how it works was, well, it used to be the old movie, what was it, Easy Rider and Rebel Without a Cause and all those. I think Easy Rider was the one that the dudes had the forks way out here. You know, they were like the ape hangers and the forks, and the forks were like 4 foot long, and you know the wheels way out there. And anyway, the issue is with a motorcycle is, imagine if your wheel is like if this whole apparatus here and your steering bar, if your wheel is straight up and down, like kind of like a bicycle, then what happens is that you know you're turning the wheel, but the wheel is very unstable, because as soon as it's straight up and down, so as soon as you hit something, that wheel just wants to freak. Okay, it wants to go crazy. But if you stretch it out a little bit and put the wheel out in front at an angle, then what happens is a degradation angle. Then what happens is that the bike becomes stable. Okay, so that's what Capricorn's all about. Capricorn is all about stability. Okay, so it determines, it's a point at which the thing is stabilized. Okay, so what it means is that this point here is your Capricorn true north, because in astrology, Capricorn is in the true north. Cancer is in the south, etc., etc. Okay, you know. Etc., etc. Okay, Capricorn's in the north, so it is the fixation point by which you determine where you're going. Because if you've got a compass, you can walk in any direction, and that direction can change. You can start walking this way or walking that way, and your direction of where you're going can change. That's what I'm saying about this wheel here. This wheel can change. You can change from Pisces to Aquarius, but there are certain things you can change from Aries towards the Aries, Pisces to Aquarius, on and on down the line, and those things will change. But what never changes is this fixation point, or well, it's always fixed. This is fixed. This is roughly fixed. But this always changes. So though you may be here, which we are, there are certain things here that are other components that are unchanging. And what I'm telling you is that you may be this right here, okay? Heck, you might even be a Pisces. You might be like a part of the wheel that's already went on. You might be a Jewish rabbi, and you might be Aries or something. You know, that might be your position, whatever. But this is the part that's hitting the ground now, is this Aquarius. And then there are certain parts here that are fixed positions. Okay, so like I said, Cancer's the rod, basically, that makes the thing work. Libra hooks there. Okay, Capricorn is the fixation point, the alignment point at which things are aligned based on degradation. Like degradation, what it does is it takes the whole compass and it turns it a little this way or that way. So like I said, this fixation point of Capricorn here is the point at which the wheel is up under you or it's out in front of you. And you got to get that right, because it'll be too unstable one way or the other. So how that works is what that means. Like I said, the Levites in the temple is the hub. Okay, so that's the Levitical priesthood. The Levitical priesthood is here. Okay, and I told y'all this to tell you this. I I thought maybe I was a Libra for a while, and then a Levite. And then I come to learn that I'm not, because I don't really look at it the way they do, because they can look at anything universally, and that's fine. Okay, I ain't got a problem with anybody else. There's no part of this motorcycle I've got a problem with. No area, whatever it might be. But I want to know what part I am. And some people would say, I'm sure, well, you're every part, you're all of it. Well, yeah, that's true, but there are still individual specific parts that I am also. Okay, it's a little bit of both. You got, you're the whole motorcycle. You can't really separate. You can look at a motorcycle and call it motorcycle, but then you can look at it individually and say, well, this is a tire, this is the hub, this is a handlebar. See what I mean? You could look at it both ways. So what I'm saying here is that you can look at all of us and say we're all one, and that's true. But you can also look at it and say that you can start breaking down the individual parts and say, well, this is not a wheel, that's a handlebar. Okay. So anyway, we're all one, but we're you can break it down individually. We're all one motorcycle. So anyway, what I found out was I am this point. My thought process is this alignment, this northern alignment of Capricorn thinking that determines the stability of the wheel. Okay, it determines the stability of where the wheel is at, because that's what Capricorn does. It's structure and stability. Okay, so anyway, what all this is that, like I said, this will change. This wheel will be Aquarius one day, and will be Capricorn one day on this wheel, and will be Sagittarius, will be Scorpio, whatever. This will roll around and roll around. Okay, this will change. But Libra will never change. Libra will never change. Libra will always be the same. The Melchizedek priesthood. Okay, this hub here is always in the same position, and the only affecting that it's affected by is it's affected by the Cancer rod here. Okay, because see, in a magnet, or not in a magnet, but in a compass, the only thing that really affects the spinning wheel in the middle, which is Libra here, is the Cancer magnet. Okay, so you've got the Cancer magnet, the orientation point, and the hub here. Okay, so this is Cancer. Cancer is your essentially all this. And then Capricorn is right here, which is your alignment point. Or north, magnetic north. Okay, so it's just the same thing here. This is Libra. Whenever you turn this magnet, whenever you turn the compass, then the outer thing of it will change based on your orientation. Well, that's your wheel. The wheel will change. Okay. Then there's a fixed point in the middle, which is Libra, and then you've got the magnet, which is Cancer, and it points to north. So north is a fixed position. Cancer is essentially a fixed position, and Libra is a fixed position. The only thing that really changes is all the rest of it around it. All the rest of it changes here, but this stays the same, this stays the same, and this stays the same. Okay, so all the rest of this is going around here. All the Piscean thought process and the Aquarian thought process and all that, it's all rolling around. Okay, it's all changing and rolling around. But Libra, Levite, stays the same. Cancer stays the same. It might move in and out, but it stays the same. Essentially the same. And the Capricornian alignment point stays the same. Okay? So what you have is essentially, there are kind of like 2 points here, really, to me, that are fixated. Is Libra and Capricorn. Cancer is the rod at which you connect the two. It's but Capricorn and Libra are the 2 fixed points because this is your fixed point out here at which everything else works around it. And this is your fixed point here at which the handlebars spin on and turns the wheel. Okay, so you've got to have a fixed point here and a fixed point here. And I'm going to tell you what those are. Your Libras out here, like I said, the Libras that's running around in between these churches out here and don't think the same, and just kind of like universal thought process, are your priesthood. And Capricorn here is your other fixed position, and it's true north. It's the way at which you orient everything else. This is how you orient the whole thing. You orient it with Capricorn. The way you orient a compass is by finding true magnetic north. Okay, that's Capricorn. Okay, so what Capricorn represents is, Capricorn thought process out here represents is the prophet. Because, see, Libra is the priesthood. Well, you've got to have a priest and a prophet to make the thing work. It's how it worked in ancient Israel. You had a priest and a prophet. See, Aaron was the Levitical priesthood, and then Moses was the prophet, okay, or on down the line. But I'm just going to use those. What it is, and I'll explain the rest of it to you. And these refer to thought processes out here. My thought process is this, okay. What it means is, see, Capricorn is two things. It's the mountain goat and it's the sage, okay. A sage is a prophet, and Capricorn's the mountain goat climbing the mountain. So what it means is that, and Capricorn is Saturn, the planet of structure. So, it's like rules, essentially. So, what you had with Moses, see, Aaron was the Levitical priesthood. He's the hub. Everything down in the camp of Israel was running around Moses, or running around Aaron. Okay, and then up here, what the other thing you had was you had Moses, who was going up on a mountain, talking to God on the mountain. God. I mean, let me aquariatize it, right? God. And he was up on the mountain, up on, I guess it was Mount Sinai. He was up on the mountain getting commandments. Okay. So what it is that Capricorn is the mountain goat sage that goes up on the mountain and has structure or commandments. Okay. At which you orientate everything by. The 10 Commandments was the orientation point for the children of Israel. Okay, so that's what that position is you've got to have prophet and priest. You've got to have Capricorn and Libra. That's how you orientate everything. Because if you're building, for one thing, if you're building a house, then you've got to put the boards straight up and down, and sometimes like this. Okay, so Libra is like if you've got one of those things that's got the little water bubble in it that's a leveler. Then you got like this, you got like this. Okay, well, Capricorn's straight up and down. So it's like the thing, they make a thing that I'm not too schooled on carpentry, but they make a thing that you drop. You like, I guess, nail it in, and then you drop it, and it's got weight on it, and it goes straight down. And then you know how to fixate your boards up and down with that. And then you've got a thing, then you've got the leveler that's got the little water bubble in it, and you put your board up, and you put that leveler on top of it. You know you need to adjust it up or down with the where the water bubble goes in the thing. Okay, that's Libra. And then the thing at the top that falls straight to the bottom, so you can orientate your board straight up and down, that's Capricorn. Okay, well, that's how it works. You've got to have Capricorn and Libra philosophy out here to orientate all the rest of it. Okay, Capricorn orientates it from here. Libra orientates it from here. Okay, so you've got to have a mentality of a universal hub that everything could spin on, connected to a fixed position point to wherewith you can orientate the whole thing from. Okay, that's what Moses did. See, Moses was the type of Capricorn, because he was the mountain goat. He was up on the mountain, and he was getting structured rules and bringing them down. Okay, so that's what this is. This is the structured alignment point, the commandments, wherewith you orientate all how we're going to have a civilization here. Okay, so how that the children of Israel were going to have a civilization, they had to have it based on that Ten Commandments was the orientation point. Okay, so anyway, so that's how I think. I like I said, I don't think like the Libras. I don't think universally. I don't think that I'm not thinking universally like they are. But you have to have them. I don't think like the Aquarians out here, because I don't think it's not my position to be the bottom of the patched wheel right here that is holding the air and going on the ground. That's not my position either. These are not my positions. I am a part of them. I am affected, obviously, by both of them, because I cannot not be affected by them, okay, and what they're doing. And this is the point wherewith we attach to the ground. This is the point where the wheel attaches to the the thing that ends up attached to me. It's all connected, but my position is to be an alignment point wherewith my Capricornian mentality, because like I said, you got Libra people out here, you got Aquarius people out here, and then you got my mentality out here that don't fit with either one of those. But it's an alignment point wherewith you align all the rest of it. And you all can't live without me, and I can't live without you all. That's just the way it works. Okay, Moses, Moses had the, just about done. I have been at odds with this issue here of things for a while. And the reason is because, see, when Moses come off the mountain, he had the structure, and everybody has gotten so far off of the idea of structure that it's exactly like the kids in the camp, or not the kids, but the Israelites in the camp. They had gotten off of the idea of structure. Okay, so Moses got mad and threw the tablets down and broke the commandments. Okay, so that's what I'm always trying to put structure to this thing. I'm always trying to say, everybody's like, the idea is that, because Libras are just like, the Libras are kind of like, whatever, whatever you want's fine with me. So, what happened was, what's the story with Aaron? Aaron was blameless, really, when it came to the golden calf, because all he was doing was he was putting in the gold that the Israelites had given him to put in and make. Okay, that was kind of the story, I think, later on. The way they thought of it was that Aaron was really kind of blameless, because he was only doing what they wanted him to do. And that's what a Libra does. A Libra just does what you want them to do. They're like, like I said, that you ask a Libra, well, what do you want to do? Well, whatever you want to do. Okay, so it was the same case. See, the Israelites were like, Aaron was like, they were like, well, what do you want to do, Aaron? And they're like, whatever you want to do, Israelites. And the Israelites were, okay, well, here's a bunch of gold, make us a golden calf. Okay, that's what happened. So Libra only runs on what's going on here. So their Libra is based on the kind of the dictates of what this is doing. Okay, and then Capricorn comes off the mountain and is trying to put some structure, trying to put some. This is all spinning, and Capricorn's trying to figure out a way to make it work, to make it be in proper, stable alignment position, and the position of stability to be able to function. Okay, so whenever all that's going on, whenever the universal people out here are going around from church to church, and whenever the Aquarians are out here and in that position, they're doing their thing and doing whatever, then they're like how could I explain that? Like for years, every time that I have tried to put a structure to things and define it, then they essentially, people out here have kind of like defied that. And that's what's going on here, is that it's kind of like the wilderness, because they defy the structure of things. They defy the structure of anything. It's like structure is defied. Forget. It's not even. I'm not even talking in terms of the word. Okay, everybody. I know everybody's going to run that back to the word. Like you're trying. Structure is a word, and this. That's not really what I'm talking about. Because I consider that to be old-fashioned myself. I think that was a day gone by. I think that the battle over the word, it's like, because I remember talking to Toriel Johnson, and he was talking about, they were talking about, you got to do the word, and he was like, what word? And I was like, I pretty much agreed with him, because when it came to the terms of the way that they were looking at the old word, it was like third coming versus love divine. I agreed in that the word had run its course. The day was over for that type of mentality. But the day is not over for structure. Okay, there's still got to be structure to make the wheel work. And you could kind of like call that a modern form of the word. You could, because the word was structure essentially, to wherewith you based everything. Like the commandments, like I said, it's a fixation point. Okay, so the structure. What I'm saying is that it's now structure. It's now a structure, not the old word you had to, wordy word, the old wordy word, but it's just simply now structure. Is there going to be structure? To me, I think everything is about concepts. It's about it's not about God. It's about the concept of God. It's not about sonship. It's about the concept of sonship. It's not about the word. It's about the concept of the word. It's not about. It's about physical. It's about physical structure. It's about. I don't know how any way to say that, but it's. I'm saying is even in this age to where everybody has moved up, to where things are so advanced now. There is still structure, okay? There can still be structure to that. If you add structure to that, to the advancement, if you add structure with the advancement, then you really have something. But if you've got just advancement and no structure, then you've got a problem, okay? So that's why that's why I have an issue with the way that oftentimes things are thrown out. Things are just, they're not considered to be, maybe these things still exist in some sort of way, but they're just thrown out. It's kind of like it's got no structure. They're throwing out the structure. And I'm trying to add structure to this and say you can have advancement, but you need structure too. You need structure with the advancement. Seems like they've got advancement. They're like a wheel spinning, and advancing. And I'm trying to add structure to it so that the wheel can advance really better. I'm not against anybody out here. I'm actually trying to help it. I'm actually trying to make it work better. Okay, the Libras out here, the universal people, they're making it work. Weren't for them, none of this is going to work. Okay, Cancer out here, see, these are fixed positions. We are Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra will always be here. Mother, Father, Libra, Mother, Father, and the scales was always going to be here. These are signs and things that are always here throughout all the ages. Okay. So this will roll around and change, but these are always here. So I would just say that there's more going on than Aquarius. There's Libra going on. There's Cancer going on. There's Capricorn going on, and these are different things out here that these kind of transcend time. This is time, spinning time, 2,000 years every 2,400 years every rotation. But these things are always here. They're like your like I said, this is like the Melchizedek priesthood, and this is like a prophet. The prophet and priest is Capricorn and Libra. Moses, the mountain goat prophet and sage, and then Aaron was the Levitical priesthood, the Libra Levite. Capricorn and Libra are your prophet and your priest. Okay, so they're always going to be here. those things are always going to be here, and they are being here displayed right here now. This I'm displaying the Capricorn prophetic type, okay, the alignment point, and these people out here that are roaming around in between your churches that are universal, kind of universal, are your Levites, and I would just recommend that you pay them tithes. Now, I'm not saying I'm paying them money, but I'm saying paying them money. I'm saying whatever the money is, whatever it's to recognize, to appreciate their position, you know, and I'm not saying that you need to do that. I'm not saying it's like a Piscean type of rule that you have to do, but I'm saying we are doing that. I'm not saying you need to do that. Don't get me. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying that we are doing that. We are paying them tithes. We are doing it whether we recognize it or not. Okay. And I'm just saying this is what's going on. This is just what's happening around you. Recognize. Okay. So anyhow, the prophet and the priest is still in action. All the tribes of Israel are located out here all around. It's all these ages that we can look around at. And right now we're just walking toward Reuben, which is Aquarius. Okay. That's just the way it is. Okay. And then we are, and all these other things are going on simultaneously. So, anyhow, I hope everybody got my point. I hope I cleared it up as good as I could. I just wanted to say that there's more things going on out here than just the Aquarius. If you just look at it from the terms of Aquarius, you really miss out, because there's Libra going on here, there's Cancer and Capricorn going on out here, and these things, like I said, these things are things that don't change, and they will always be going on. But these will be things that will change, but that's where we're at right now. So just consider that there's more things going on out here than just Aquarius. That's what I've been trying to say for so long, is that everybody seems to, well, I don't say everybody, I don't want to lump everybody in the same boat, but people tend to think that it's just Aquarius, and if you're not in that, then, you know, there's something that's like the modern equivalent of something wrong with you. The modern equivalent of essentially sinning. Okay, there's like, you know, what's the modern equivalent of sinning now is that you have a backwards message. Pretty much. Okay, y'all can debate me on that, but whatever. That's pretty much it. So, you know, without being sin, because in Aquarius there can't be sin. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, but there's more going on out here than that. There's more going on out here than Aquarius and coming out of Pisces. There's more going on out here than that. There's Libra going on. There's Cancer and Capricorn going on. Okay, so you can be something. You could be a Levite and not be out of the time of this age. You could be a Levite and be, because the Levite, the Levitical priesthood, was never ending. It had no beginning of days or ending of life. It's like Melchizedek. Okay, so that means that Libra always, if you're in Libra, then you're always in the right time. Okay, on this wheel. Right now, if you're in Aquarius, then you're in the right time on the wheel. But in Libra is always in the right time, because it doesn't really have an orientation. It just rolls. Okay? And then if you're in Capricorn or Cancer, you're always in the right time too, because this is always here. This, no matter what goes on, this point don't move. This point don't move. Well, it might move up and down, but essentially it don't move. And this don't move. So these things are always the same. This will roll around and change. So if you're in Aquarius, then you're doing pretty good, because you're recognizing that the wheel has moved to this point, or is certainly beginning to move to that point. And if you're in Libra, if your thought process is Libra, you're doing fine. Because, and I'm not saying any of the rest of them don't work out either, because you kind of have to have the rest of them. But if you're in Libra, if that's your position, your thought process, and you're doing fine. If you're in Cancer and Capricorn, you're doing fine. You don't have to be in the Aquarius thought process out here is what I'm saying. There are thought processes out here that are not Aquarius that are also properly aligned right now. Okay? What I've been trying to say that for a long time is that that's not the only way to think of it. The Aquarius notion out here is not the only notion that is functioning right now. Okay, you might be in a different position of thought process that's not Aquarius and be functioning right along smoothly with the rest of the bike. See what I mean? There's more processes than just the Aquarian thought process out here. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to see. I've been trying to get everybody to see that for a long time, is that this is not just the only one. Now, it might be the one for you. It might be. But there's more things going on out here simultaneously that are not just Aquarius, that are different thought processes that are working together to make the thing work. And I'm not even saying that you all would, the Aquarian people would really disagree with that. I'm not saying that they would, but I'm just saying that, to me, the light needed to be shined upon that a little bit more. It needed to be appreciated a little bit more. Like, what I'm saying is that I'm not saying, I kind of think of it like shelf space in the store. Whenever I say what I got to say out here, and as far as that goes, anybody else, I got no problem if we're all like different brands of some food or something, some canned food. If we're all different brands of canned food, I got no problem with your brand of canned food being out here. Your brand of canned food needs to be out here. Maybe it's priced at a different price range for different people. Maybe it's got different ingredients in it that different people prefer. Okay, all I'm saying is that there are other brands of canned food out here that might not even be mine that can be different than yours. And they need shelf space too. They need the light. The light in the room has got to shine on all of them, and they got to have their shelf space too. And I'll tell you this. You might go down to a shelf, and it's got 4 shelves long full of showboat beans or something. Okay, and then you might only have a little section here for maybe some other brand of beans or whatever. I don't know if showboat's the best example, but but anyway, there might be just like a brand of beans that's only got one little section here, and then there's another brand of beans that's got a whole big section. Okay, so some of us don't really have as big a section, but we still need our shelf space. Okay, you all might have the vast majority of everybody, and or might have the vast majority of people that like your type of beans, and that's fine. But all I'm saying is that there's a few other brands out here, and we got to have our shelf space. And if you like our type of beans, then buy it. Buy whatever type of beans you want. But all I'm saying is I'm making my case for having my shelf space and a few other people's shelf space, and really everybody's shelf space. I'm trying to orient it in a way, because I'm the Capricorn mentality. I'm trying to orient it in a way that everything can work together properly. And that's what this orientation point here is of Capricorn, is to be able to make sure that the stability of the whole shelving process works. Is to make sure that it's okay for all the beans to work. Anyway, have I overdone it, wifey?
It's all right.
Oh boy, I guess I've made the point. Anyhow, so buy my beans if you like them. May I also suggest that you try other beans, not just my beans, but if you like my beans, sure. So if you like Cancer beans, you like Libra beans, you like Aquarius beans, go for it. If you like Capricorn beans, hey, buy them, So anyway, but they're all good beans. They're all, if you bought any of the beans, if any of those beans that you buy right now are going to work out pretty good. And so anyhow, I guess that's it. And see you guys later.